Welcome to session 4, if we're counting by the 2 hours, here week 2. And in tonight's announcements, just reaffirmation that we're using Adobe Flash. And then I posted Misty Porch's week 2 flyer for her hours. This is our agenda for tonight. And we're going to go over, just review the overview and objectives and the readings and tools. Make sure we're good on the discussion of UX and UI. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on that, on your discussion. And make sure we're clear on the assignment review. And then we'll go over the specifics of the week 2 questions on the assessment. And as you know, our project this mod is to create a animated and interactive Flash program. And according to the storyboard that you've designed in week 1. By the way, did you get my feedback? I gave some feedback on your work. I hope you got that.
Yeah, we had talked about it would be too small.
Right.
But I couldn't just go change that because it was already.
Yeah. You know, if you'd like to resubmit that.
Well, I wanted you to look at what I already have and see what you think and see if that would work. If it don't work, then I don't know what else I can do except for take a few more things off. But I made it bigger for the picture to be displayed. And then the words or the text that I have there is not going to actually show when I get my animation going. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I just put them on there so you would kind of know what each little picture is going to bring up. Because I kind of shortened everything a little bit on the words.
Okay, good.
Since it's going to be on a mobile, so I'm trying to make it the same as the other one. But I'm going to have to go and work on the other one too for the desktop. I want it to not be the same, but I want it to be also kind of going from one to the other.
Yeah, and so the designs might be somewhat different just because the different size display. And the content may be similar and should be similar, but the navigation and potentially the interface can be different and maybe should be different just because of the fact that it's a smaller device. And so we don't have to, it's not necessarily a requirement that they look identical, but we have to be realistic about the fact that there's less pixels on a smartphone display. And with a smaller amount of pixels, then you are pushed towards changing the design. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. You said you had something you wanted to show me, I think, already?
Oh. Sorry.
I think that's what you said.
Earlier, yeah. I thought also about when you were saying bringing the little girl over from my other project, what about, it doesn't take long to create anything in Illustrator. To me, it doesn't. What about a little car like you were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
And it can be like a cartoon type car, and it'd be going across each site or something. I mean, I don't know how we can work that in.
Yeah. It could be really simple. We'll talk about that in a moment. Because you can go from very simple to more complex on ways to introduce a car into your animation.
If you want to see it, I'm more than glad to show you. I mean, I've got it up. I mean, I had it up. I was working on it before you got on.
And tell me again, you're going to show me the revamped mobile design? Is that what you want to
Well, I'm going to show you both of them on Illustrator because I didn't change much on the actual desktop one, just the time.
Okay.
I was trying to make the time to at least 2.2 minutes and something.
Okay.
And I mean, I can increase it and make it longer, but just right now I'm trying to, but I can show it to you.
All right. I'll stop my share and then you can share your screen.
Tell me it cut. I guess it took it off. Why would it do that? Oh, because I'm going to Flash, not Illustrator. Sorry. There's the one on the right. See, I took out.
That's good. I like that.
Down here, you see below here, I just wrote down what was next. After the Riverwalk, it would be the Alamo. And see, I'll go in here and I'll probably cut down over here on the left. I'll probably cut down these two on like scene 2 so it can be seen better. You know, so it'd be a little bit bigger. But I'm going to leave, I don't know if I should leave the Texas map on the one on the desktop, but it doesn't matter on that one, right? It just more mattered on the mobile. Correct? Let me bring the mobile up so you can see it a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. And I like how you've done this. It really shows some heads-up thinking about the fact that...
Can you read it a little bit better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I've done is I made each picture, the text, it says, then the text of the first attraction and picture slides in where it pauses for at least 4 seconds is what I meant to say, but I just put 4 seconds. Then the text and the first picture slides out and the next one comes in. And it just keeps going. And I'm only doing 3 pictures. I mean, I can add more if I have to make it longer. You see what I'm saying?
Hey, I can't tell you how much I like this.
The only thing that I had a question on, and I put a question mark on it so you know, is this one right here. Do I necessarily have to put Austin back again for them to start all over, or can I just put stuff about Texas in the end, or do I really need this thing?
Yeah, I like the idea of a summary statement. You don't have to circle back.
Judge, I don't necessarily have to put Austin here.
Right. I mean, this last destination can be a summary rather than
just
Texas.
Austin, take it off. That's what I was thinking, and just put something about Texas. But I didn't know if you wanted me to add pictures to it or not, or just leave it alone and just talk about Texas a little bit. And then the end one, I didn't know if you wanted me to go back from the first, so they can just start back over again and go through it again, or just leave that one out of here.
No, frankly, I like your design of start to, replay button or something like that.
Yeah, I just put start button, but I didn't know what to put on there. I can put replay. I just didn't know for sure. I mean, of course, it's going to say all that, but.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to put replay button on there so the person can watch it again.
But I figured the car could start here, right in this corner. Or maybe I can even put it right here, and then it goes on to the next one, and the car stops for a second while, the picture's showing somewhere. Maybe the car don't even show at all. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to put the car into the other scenes yet.
Yeah, so my thought on that car animation would be, I think you might not even need it in the mobile. It might be too much for a mobile design.
But I can put it over here, though.
Let's go look at your desktop design for a second. Okay, let's just think about, I'm not saying we have to add the car animation, but let's just think about some ideas about the design. Let's see. Okay, so here's one feedback on the design.
Yeah, I just seen a mistake too. So right here, I'm picky too.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Oh, it probably won't let me do it right now because where we're at, but that's okay. I'll fix it later. Yeah, there's a big old space right here, but I'll fix that in a little bit. Okay.
Okay, so here's some initial feedback on this. I remember that I think that the location of Texas, let's see, I kind of miss, when I look at going from scene 1 to scene 2, I'm really in favor of keeping the map of Texas in the same location, because your scene 1 has it left justified and your scene 2 has it right justified. And
So put it back to the left.
3, 4, let's just talk about that for a second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all right justified, but then scene 7 is left justified. So tell me, explain to me your thinking there, and let's see if you end up deciding to.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, because I think that maybe it should be on the left since it's already started that way, and maybe the picture and the text should be on the right. So I'm agreeing with you now, because I can see it needs to be consistent. It's consistent, don't you think?
That's what I'm inclined to say. Now you could just change scene 1 and scene 1 and scene 7 to be right justified maps, and here's why. A person's eye, especially a U.S. American, will go left to right, top to bottom. And so the content, I really like the placement of your content scenes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because their eye can pick up through peripheral the graphic of the image of the map can be very easily picked up through a peripheral. Their peripheral vision, or let me say the non-focused focal point vision. But the words, a person has to focus on words. And so I do like your design on scenes 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because the upper left corner is where their eyes will have to go in order to read. And that's a natural place, top to bottom, left to right. So I think that if you switch your scene 1 and scene 7 so that the map is right justified, and then maybe you put "Welcome to Texas, my home state," upper left-hand corner, switch the content, I think that will be fine. What do you think?
So even move the pictures too, probably too?
Yeah.
I just don't know what to do with the flag. Do I just move the flag when I move to Texas, or do I just take
Yeah,
the flag out?
I think that's okay. Move the flag.
Okay. I can do that. That's not a problem. And I agree with you on that.
Do you? Okay.
I'm going to make a note on that. If I don't, I'll forget.
Yeah. It's important that if you agree with my design suggestion, if you disagree, please feel free to.
No, I agree with you. That's what I was saying. It would be more consistent if I just put it on the right, and it just flows just right, like left to right, like you said, top to bottom. I didn't even think about that.
Let's see, and now I'm thinking about the animation of the cities, and let's see.
Okay, I got that down. I'm taking like little notes and little sticky notes.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Now let's talk just for a second about the animation of these cities on this map. Let's see. What's the easiest thing to implement?
Well, I know I was wanting Austin. Can we just bring Austin and just zoom it in? I mean, it's going to have to fade in and then zoom in, but I don't know how to do that. Can you do both? Or would it be better just to slide in?
Okay. I'm gonna think about what's the easiest way to animate, and if our goal is to animate the city name, then one thing you could do is to have each city name on its own layer in Adobe Flash, and that it just sits there until the scene that it's becomes highlighted. I say highlighted, I mean just, let's say we're going to Austin. So what could happen is, let's see, I'm trying to think of the animation. So we've got so when we go to this next scene of Austin, should we zoom, have the text, just that text alone can be made into a class and then can be animated. So let's see. what we could do, or what you could do, is when the scene goes from scene 1 to scene 2, right at the beginning of scene 2, the Austin can go from, let's say, 10 point to 36 point. The animation, in other words, it's just sitting there on the map. The map is just the outline, of Texas, and that's the image. You could put Texas as part of the. You can either put that as part of the map, or we can even animate Texas. But so let's just talk about the name of the city animations for a minute. So it goes to scene 2, and then right at the beginning of scene 2, Austin goes from, let's say, 12 point to 36 point. And then you're looking at Austin, and then we can animate the text of the picture, and then the text associated with that picture can be done on each layer. We have the image will be on its own layer, and then the text associated with that. So then, and then we move to the next one, and next one. Then maybe at the end of this scene, Austin could go from 36 point back down to 12 point, and then we go to the next scene where Dallas goes from 12 point to 36 point right at the beginning of the scene, and it stays large while we display the different pictures, and then it recedes and it goes back to its 12 point size at the end of scene 3. Then scene 4 starts up and it goes from 12 point to 36 point. And I'm just throwing those numbers out there. I actually don't know exactly the scale of the font size that we'll be using in this. And then it would scale down, scale up, or scale up, and then scale down. And then San Antonio, scale up, scale down. Now, you don't necessarily need to have Austin scaled up. Let's see.
On the last one?
Yeah, let's see. I'm looking at scene 6. Because wasn't scene 2 talking about Austin?
Yeah, this is what we were going to do. I think is we're going to kind of do what we were going to do on scene 6 on the mobile, is maybe put something here just on Texas. So we may not even need, we can still use the Texas map. It's just going to be all the same size unless you just don't want it there at all. I mean, I don't know.
All right, so now why does it say Austin is the Lone Star State? Isn't Texas the Lone Star State?
That's what it said in a piece of paper that I don't even know what I do with the papers at. A paper said it was a Lone Star State. I guess because it's the capital. Maybe that's why.
Oh.
If I have it here. Here it is.
I didn't know that Texas is the fastest growing
state. It says the Lone Star State has many gorgeous sights for travelers who take in, and Dawson doesn't disappoint. So maybe it is talking about Texas. I didn't know that. I guess I better go back and fix that, huh?
Let's see if I can find.
I can fix that. I can just put Texas. Let's see here. I don't know if I can go in here and fix it.
I really like the idea of
I mean, I can get this off and just redo it. So I'm just going to put a note to redo scene 6. Redo scene 6 on both desktop and mobile. And I can send it to you when I get it done so you can kind of see and see what you think.
Sure.
Okay, I got that down. I got so many notes, it's not even funny. I laugh at myself when I do all these sticky notes. Everybody just looks at me like, oh, at all. Because I mean, I have a lot of them usually, and I stick them all over this desk. But I have to do that in order to be able to do it. If I don't write it down, I'll forget everything. That's just the way I am.
Let's see. Austin is Lone Star State. More gorgeous.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. I think that it's meaning Texas, I think. That's what I'm thinking. Because then I reread it, and that makes more sense.
Okay, I'm looking to find gorgeous sites. I'm actually trying to find the text on the internet that you were looking at.
It was at, I hope I did I'll tell you where I found it in just a second. It was at, where did I find this at?
Hey, you do a sec check? 1 second.
It's okay. Can you see it now? Just left for a minute.
Give me 1 minute.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Let's see. The Lone Star State has many gorgeous sites. Yeah. So that's talking about Texas.
That's what I figured.
The Lone Star State has many gorgeous sites for travelers to take in, and Austin doesn't disappoint. Yeah. So that's. I think this is actually a good direction of where we're that you're headed right here. Let's see. So if you could go back to your design. Okay, so scene 6, I think that's good to be a wrap-up thing. I don't think you need to make Austin highlighted in this. I think you can, bring it back down to its original size.
I can remember what the original, because right now it's pretty small, but I couldn't make it any bigger. It's 3.43 right now. That's pretty small.
Yeah, I think that's probably a little too small. Those really need to be readable in whatever.
You can't even read it.
Size,
darn it.
Size font you have.
Well, I tried, but it was acting like it didn't want to change its size, I guess you can say. I'll just leave it like that for right now, and I'll change font, smaller font, change, smaller font.
Can you click on that? I'd like to see the attributes on that font.
Which one? This one? It doesn't matter?
Yeah, the text. Let me see what you got there. See that 3.43 point?
Uh-huh.
Can you change that just for a second up there to, let's say, 10 point?
Oops. Darn it. Sorry. The thing that I keep touching that we're sharing thing. How's that?
That's probably too much. Could you try 8 point and or 6 point?
Try 8 and then see what you say. Is that still too big?
No, I think that's probably pretty good.
So change them all to 8 point.
Yeah, that's what I recommend. And let's see. I like. Can you go on scene 1 for Texas and let's see what the point size is on that. That's 10.28. Can you just for a second go to 12 point on that?
Sure. If it'll quit touching that top part. Okay.
What?
You want to look at it?
Yeah. So give me your feedback on that. I'm just curious.
Does it need to be bigger or?
What do you think?
Oh, it didn't even do the. Well, I changed the font on that. Does the fonts all need to be the same? Because I have this one as, because I liked it because it kind of brought out just Texas. And I did Cambria because I didn't know what else to use that would look good.
I'm wondering if there's a Texas font, Texas-like font.
I guess I should have looked it up.
I'm going to look real quick. Oh, I like it. Western fonts, fancy. Yeah, there's a lot of fun ones you could choose, but I wonder if...
Yeah, they're not on here.
I really wonder if Texas has a state font. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some really, really Western-like fonts out there. Hey, listen to this. Texas to name official state font. How about that? It's exactly what I was wondering. In an effort to present a more friendly mentality about the state of Texas, a bill was presented before the state legislature this morning to change the font on all statewide signage. Oh, wow. I'm surprised. I'm reading more about exactly what font they're espousing. And this is such an interesting concept of the branding of a state. The bill, however, was suggesting the Comic Sans font, which shocks me. That would not be the font that I would choose in my design, my branding of Texas. I don't get, are you following me?
I wonder why they did that.
Well, I don't think the bill passed, but if you're worried about branding of your state, I would not at all choose. There's so many Western font options. They could even invent their own font for that matter, and that way they wouldn't have to pay any royalties to anyone who owned the font.
So you were looking at a Western font?
Yeah. If you search for Western fonts, there's many of them. And frankly, they're quite interesting.
There's I found one that has 69 free ones. Let's see what it shows.
I can think of a ton. When I think of the image.
I like that one. The Carvalli. That's pretty.
Yeah, I like that. It's it really gives you the feel of the history behind Texas.
And all these other ones, I just like that one right there. Or even this one down here would be cool. This Nashville type, but I still like that one up there better. And it's free, as it says. It is free, so.
There's one called Rosewood.
Is it all the way to the bottom? Oh, it's probably had to go next.
There's one called Mesquite. There's one called Playbill Ultra Condensed. There's an old Western font.
Oh, that's pretty cool right there, the Westerner. I'm looking too at this
Yeah,
site.
yeah, that's good. I'm glad you are.
There's Old Milwaukee, but I don't like the U, how it's done. The cactus wouldn't be a good one. That's kind of like kiddish to me. Of
Sure.
course, it looks kiddish to me, but anyway.
Now let's just pause for just a second and talk about fonts.
Okay.
When you embed your text in an image, you don't have to worry about providing font information in your animated application because it's actually just an image. There's no
Oh,
font,
okay. Yeah.
there's no font information. And so if you, for example, chose one of these fonts and embedded Texas in your image of the map, then you don't have to worry about embedding the font and basically causing your application to bring the font with it. Now, Adobe Flash actually, the ActionScript 3.0 project files used to or are able to bring with it the font with it, meaning it's embedded in the application. But HTML, on the other hand, and we're leaning towards the HTML and JavaScript, it is not readily able to bring the font with it. What I mean is to take the information associated with the font. If you're going to use text, not text on an image, but text just by a text that has to be rendered, then you have to worry about bringing the font with you. I say bringing the font with you, I mean embedding the entire font in your application. But HTML5 and Canvas and JavaScript, they're not really good at bringing the font with it so much as being able to specify an existing font that's already there in the system of that's watching the animation. So let me rephrase that. Fonts are what are rendered, and they come with the system of the computer that's watching the animation. If the application requires a particular font and I don't have it on my device, it's going to substitute it with one that I do, a similar one that comes as a system font. So these are the issues we have to worry about, because if we get fancy with our fonts, we're going to have to be careful about either taking the font and doing the text right on an image. Then we don't have to worry about us bringing the font with us. But if we try to animate the font, that does mean we're going to have to bring the font with, animate the words in the font. That means we would. So my bottom line here is, so we could take the font of choice. You could download the font onto your development machine. You could then specify this word Texas using that font and place that right on your map and then save it. And then we don't have to worry about bringing that font with us. But the cities, because we're going to be animating cities, that's going to be, at least that's our plan of our design right now. That's going to be a different issue because we do have to bring the font with us. So we are not going to, potentially not going to be able to use the same font that you're using to do on Texas. Now, let me make sure that I'm kind of making clear on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 meaning you totally got what I just said, and 1 meaning I've lost you. Where do you stand on what I just explained?
About 4.5.
Okay, that's good enough for me. That's good. Okay.
Because I understand with Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, there's going to be a problem. And you're going to have to use what font that we use in Flash. With the end in Texas, can I still use the same font? Do you see what I'm saying right here?
Yeah, let's see. You could actually make a little image there the end and using that font. And
same thing with welcome to Texas. I can do the same.
yeah. Yeah, these things can't be in it. If we have to animate it, then
Oh, I see what you're saying, because we got to bring this in, the welcome to Texas in. So that's not going to work, is it? Unless we make it an image, correct?
that's right. It could be an image, and it could be faded in rather than moved in from the left or right. You know, we could do a fade from nothing to there, and then fade it back out. So, you can see this is really fun for me. I hope it's fun for you, because we're designing the storyboard based upon the implementation and how we're going to go about implementing it. And so this is actually a really good discussion we're having, because we're becoming very real about the task of implementing our design, and we're making decisions that are affecting our design in order to facilitate the implementing of it. So we're going back and forth, saying, hey, we could do this, but if we do that, we have to worry about this. And so this is actually, for me, and hopefully for you, a very positive discussion on how to go about designing and managing the requirements that you're attempting to do. So
Yeah, I understand it. It's just a lot to take in right now, but I can do it.
yeah. Let's see.
And the font, one of the font, I kind of like this Gambler one, but
Yep,
I
that's
also
good.
like that one we looked at. I mean, they're both kind of nice, so I don't know which one to use yet. I mean, probably have to download them both, compare.
Play around with them.
Yeah, because that first one was really good.
And then when you've chosen a good font, you need to go talk to your congressman and say, hey, guy, use this font for the Texas font and stop doing this this idea of the comic. You know, who would want comic to be our font?
There ain't no telling who picked that. But I do agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of good fonts in here. Don't get me wrong. Like the Black Hawk one's okay, but I don't like the little edges on them. It just doesn't look right. This one right here. Well, if I can get it to go back, my computer's kind of like this one. I like the way it is, except I don't like the edges on the ends. That just bothers me. I don't know why, but it just does. And then down here's another Western one, but the edge on the W looks weird. I guess I'm just nitpicky. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it would look good.
Which one on that screen did you like?
On this screen, let me back up one. Okay, I kind of like this one, except for the ends of the W. You see the little ends?
Yeah.
Kind of crazy looking. It's like there's arrows that's pointing up and shooting out. I mean, this would be really nice if it didn't have all this little floral stuff going in it.
Right.
So I'm just nitpicky.
Yeah.
But I do like that one over here on the fourth area. The Gambler is really a nice one.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of like clean cut, but it's not right. Whoa, you know. I might go ahead and download this one and that other one and compare, because I just got to figure out where I want to put it. I got to find my fonts, and I'm
Right now, as you do that, I'm actually reviewing the rules in this latest in Adobe Flash that have to do with embedding fonts.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out where they're at now. I think they're not in there. Wouldn't that be in Adobe? Maybe I'm going to the wrong spot.
Oh,
I thought they were in. Oh, wait a minute, Windows maybe.
Go down.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh, there they are. It was asking me where I wanted to put them, and this is where I want to put them. Where'd they go?
Right.
Uh-oh, I think I lost it. They're probably still in downloads, but this is where I want to put them. Because every one of these fonts is everything that I get from, oh, it's not going to let me do it. I'll have to go find them again. Arr! My fault. I didn't pay attention to where they were going. But I'll go get them. I'll just leave this side up. But I'm going to get this one. And then I'm going to go and get that one on the first page. The one we were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
This one right here. I don't like the little slashes in it, but I don't think it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, that's definitely a carnival font.
Or I can, even go as far as up to this one, but it's really nice, but I don't see, I hadn't really went through and looked, there's Nashville, that one's kind of nice, but it knocks some of it out, the lettering, so. This is kind of too bushy for me, this old cowboy one. There's a lot of them in here, and I see I can go back and look for more. It's not a big deal. It's just.
You bet. If you want, we can get back to the other design, and we can come back to this. The animated cities don't have to be the same font. We can talk more about that next in week 3.
Okay.
Because we're going to be animating next week. Let's see. Yeah, when we, if we create an ActionScript 3.0 base document, then we can embed these fonts in the Swift file. If we choose an HTML, it's going to be a different story. We're trying to stay away from editing the output files because I know how to embed fonts and reference fonts in an HTML5 document, but I don't think that I'm really quite sure of this. So Adobe Flash, if we choose a Canvas document to begin with, I don't think, I really like 99.99% positive that just with what's currently supported, that the export the publish function, if we have a Canvas document, if the publish function will allow us to publish and include an embedded font. I know how to go and take the output, the published file, the HTML that's been output, including JavaScript, and then add in manually an embedded font. But that will defeat. Our goal is to just rely upon the publish, what's currently supported by Adobe Flash, and the publish mechanism that's currently in Adobe Flash if we use a Canvas document. So we'll face that story a little bit more next week, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's get back to this conversation here. Let's see.
Do you want me to stop sharing, or?
No, I want to keep looking at your design. Let's see. Yeah, Texas does not have to be animated. Okay, so a car. You originally talked again about that idea of animating a car. Let's see. Now, I think this would be extra credit, even though I can't do extra credit. But one thing that could happen is as you zoom in on or have the text get bigger, and then it goes back smaller, you could have a little car icon move from Texas and then, excuse me, from Austin to Dallas. But I'll be honest with you, that would not be necessary for the purposes of this class, the scope of this class. I mean, because you would already be animating the city name. You'll already be animating images coming in, as well as animating the text. By the way, I'd like to propose to you, and I want you to, I'm going to ask you to take a position. Let me see. I want you to assume a position of like a defender of your design. I'm a little bit concerned that my ideas are dominating. And I know that I have the role of teacher, but I really want you to feel confident in your own opinions and your own design ideas. And so in order to do that, it will require you to have an opinion that will be different than mine. And when it's different, I don't want you to think that it's less of opinion. I actually want you to, if you can, assume a strong position of, this is my design, this is why it is the way it is, and I don't want my ideas to dominate so much. I know I'm kind of asking a lot of you right now, but I'm actually trying to help you grow in your own confidence, and I'm kind of like putting you on the stage. And I know you probably don't feel totally comfortable, and it's like, Chip, how can you expect me to defend my design ideas when I'm a student and this is my first animation class and these concepts are coming to me the first time? I get all that. But I'm still very interested in not eclipsing you with my ideas. And so, so I know that's a lot to ask of you, but I'm going to ask if you stand up on the stage and kind of own your thoughts. And what I'm going to do is propose some things, and rather than you just accepting my proposals, I'm more interested in you being a little bit of questioning my ideas. Now, how does this all sound to you?
Sounds good. I'm ready. Fire away.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're up to it. Because that actually would be better. It's just it's better for you to get up on the stage there and present your ideas and defend them, and to disagree. And I know it's a lot to ask, but but it'll be good for you. Okay?
Okay.
You good?
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at this design a little bit more, and let's look at scene 4 for a second. There's something I see wrong with your design in scene 4, and I'm wondering if you see it.
So I need to ask you a question. Okay, would it be the font of itself of Houston is outside the lines?
That's exactly right. Good job.
And I didn't know exactly where to put it, so I've been trying to figure that one out.
Okay. All right, so you saw it. That's good. Yep, that's a design flaw right there that I'm glad you're aware of it. and because that name will have to be left, right justified rather than off the good. Okay, you don't have to fix it now. I'm just kind of
Oh, I'm just writing it down.
yeah.
So I
Okay,
can put it in my
good.
mind. I'm really good about doing that. So
Okay, good. Now, what is the animation of the text in the upper left-hand corner in scenes 2, 3, 4, 5? How does that animation take place again? It says the text of each attraction slide in from the left of different attractions of Austin. Okay, let me back up from that. And I'm going to ask you a question. And so the animation of your text and your picture is going to, you've chosen to animate from sliding in from the left. And so let me ask you this. What is it about that animation that you prefer over, for example, a fade in?
because I'm going to be sliding my pictures in, I thought the text could be slid in and then the picture. Like say the Texas State History Museum will slide in. Of course, that arrow is not going to be there because that's just showing an indication. And of course, the picture's probably going to be bigger than what I had in my box at this time. Basically, it's going to do almost the same as the mobile device, where it'll just come in, it'll slide in, the animation itself. I mean, it could fade, but if you slide the text in and it stops, then the picture slides in just a few seconds later. Then you pause it for a few minutes, which I haven't changed that part of the information yet. Pause it for a few minutes and then let it slide out again. And the next picture comes up with the text, and the same thing with the third. But each one will stop or pause for a few seconds and then go out. And then the next one will come up, pause for a few seconds, and go out.
Okay, so let me pause you for a second. So I want to restate my question, and that is, I think I heard you say the text is going to come from off the screen, off the stage, from the left, as are the pictures. And I think I heard you say there's different ways you can coordinate those two, but I think I heard you say that your goal is to make them about the same, coming off the stage, moving onto the stage from the left side. Now, my question, let me rephrase my question, because I'm interested to know, of all the ways to animate that, what is it about coming off the stage from the left to coming on the stage from the left? What made you go in that direction rather than some other ideas, which would be like just fading it in from nothing and fading out to nothing, and fading in from nothing and fading out, fading in, fading out, fading in, fading out.
I guess because of the idea of left to right.
Okay. All right.
Because everybody sees left to right.
Yep.
At least I do.
Yep. So bringing it in is a way to attract attention. Okay, good. So left to right, bring it in. Okay, good. Okay, and let me see what other questions. Okay, here's another design question. Currently, your Texas map takes up a little bit more than half of the screen. And the picture is a little less than a quarter of the screen. And the text will be a little bit about a quarter, maybe a little less than a quarter of the screen. Of all the things that are going on in the screen, what is your greatest interest and focus? What would you say if you're measuring somebody's response, what's the thing that you would want them most responding to of the Texas map or the pictures or the text?
The text and then the pictures.
Okay. So am I understanding you to say is the text is most important, and then the picture is second important, and then the Texas map would be third important. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, given the real estate, Texas is about 60% important because it takes up 60% of the real estate of your interface. And the pictures, the text itself is about 15 to 20% important. It's not 25%. It's probably, in the neighborhood of 25%. So you've got a 60% on the map, about a 15% to 20% on the text, and then you've got about a 22% in the real estate of the pictures. So if you're paying out money, you're giving $60 to the Texas map, you give about $20 to the 15 to $20 to the text, and about 20 to $25 to the pictures. And so you're actually, based upon the real estate of your design, your priorities that you mentioned a moment ago are actually exactly reversed. You are giving 60% of the real estate to the third most important thing. You're giving 22% of the real estate to the second most important thing, and you're giving about 15% to 20% of the real estate to the most important thing. Now, do you know what I mean when I say real estate? The screen?
No, not really.
Okay. I'm basically saying it's like cutting up a pie. The real estate is a term we use in describing a user interface, a design. So if I were to give you a design that took up 100% of the real estate, the word real estate there is the context of my design took up the entire screen. If my design took up 60% of the quote-unquote real estate, it basically means the area of your display. So the area of your display, 60% goes to the Texas map, 22% go to the pictures, and about 18% or so goes to the text. So to a certain extent, when you have your priorities, you want the most important thing to get the most real estate, because real estate is like money or area. If I spend 60% of my display on a map, then I've committed 60% of my visual area to that thing. So right now, about 60% of the area is committed to the map. And yet the map is the least important thing according to your priorities. The second most important thing were pictures, and that's taking up a little less than 25%, probably in the neighborhood of 20 or so, 20, 22. And then the most important thing, the text, is taking up just that upper corner there. Now, am I clearly explaining these concepts to you, or have I kind of lost you? Are you worried, concerned, unclear?
So you're probably saying that if I want my text and my pictures to be the main focus, I need to probably shrink, is what I call it, the text map to be not as big, because I want the main focus to be the text and the pictures, and that will include also the text of Austin. Because you want them to know that I'm talking about Austin itself. So the text map can be smaller.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily need the other cities on there. Is that what you're saying too?
I hadn't mentioned that.
If I take the other cities off, it's not going to matter because we're only focusing on one city.
I think that's a very good observation.
So that would be easier. That way they're probably going to try to shrink their eyes to try to see what else is on there.
And I like where you're thinking. I like where you're headed. I completely agree. And you can get away from my proposal where you go from small to large. Instead, you can just fade it in the exact same size font. In other words, instead of going from 10 point to 32 point, you go 24 point, just from the get-go, if you scale this down. But your summary of the summary you just gave of what I've wanted to explain to you is perfect. You're exactly right. You've got it. You get what I was getting at perfectly.
Hey, my brain's actually working today. Oh, I'm so happy.
English works.
Yes.
We are communicating a Utahn with a Texan. I'm actually a Michigander. I came from Detroit, Michigan.
I'm a full-fledged Texan, born and raised. Seriously.
How about that?
I've been out of the state of Texas a few times, like Oklahoma, Illinois, Indiana, and then in between. But I'm full Texan. Never been to California or anywhere around. Not even the state of the U.S. is not. I mean, the U.S. United States. I've never been out of it either.
Oh wow!
Oh, you're talking to a full-fledged USA person.
That's awesome.
I want to, but I haven't never got to yet. I'm kind of scared with all the things that have been going on in the world.
Sure. All right. I think it's time for a 10-minute break. So what I'll do is I'll see.
You want to start sharing now?
Yeah, you can stop sharing, and then we'll take a break. And what I'll do is I'll stop the recording. And then I'll start it up again in just a few minutes after we come back from the break. Okay, welcome back from the break, and let's just move on here. As we've been discussing this in our review of your interface, your storyboard, we have delved further into the user experience and the user interface, and we've started putting together your project. Now, one of the things that I haven't yet brought up, I think we did really well as we've reviewed your desktop design, but we didn't focus so much on your mobile design. One thing that we can do that here in a moment. One thing that I thought of, and that is the interactivity of a desktop would be one using your mouse or pointer, whereas the interactivity of a mobile device is not mouse driven, but is actually finger. Your finger is the interface, and so by clicking a button to start it, you just touch it with your finger. And sometimes you can do with an application or a user interface slightly different, and that is with a finger swoosh from left to right. You can advance from one scene to the next, and then right to left goes back I'm not advocating this so much as I just want to talk about it in your design. So we'll go a little bit further because I'm really interested to see what you have to say in the discussions this week. So our objectives for the week: define and understand the importance of creating a good user interface for desktop and mobile devices, and create and execute original artwork pertaining to a self-promotional piece, which basically is the getting the assets that you're going to use, and that would be like the map and music and a selection of fonts, for example, and so the discussion you're sharing. Have you had a chance to work on the discussion yet this week?
I've found some websites, but I haven't really. I was going to work on it tonight.
Okay, that's all right. It's not due till tomorrow night.
But I kind of wanted to get it out of the way and then work on a little bit and then write my little other part of it, the part 2 of the discussion.
Right.
On what I think I'm going to do, and then go from there.
Yeah. So this is this point where I wanted to circle back to your design, your storyboard, and now let's focus on the mobile aspects. So I'm going to stop my share here, and then you can share your design document again, and then we can look at the mobile design.
Sorry, I had a cough, and I did not want to cough on here.
It's funny because when I sneeze, it's a race to get to the mute button in time.
Yeah, my cough was okay. Go over here. There you go. Can you see that, or do I need to make it bigger?
No, that's really pretty good.
I mean, I can even bring it up to 200, but I think that's going to be too big.
Once again, I want to compliment you on how quickly you're learning concepts of animation and especially adapting them to the different size displays. I really feel like you've made a lot of progress, and just look at the text that you are now including at the base of each of the scenes. I mean, that's incredible. Remember how we started off last week?
Yes.
And you've come such a long way in just 1 week's time. I distinctly remember you saying at the beginning that you struggle with storyboards. I have to say, I think you're doing great, really, really well. And so, number one, I think you're doing great on adapting your storyboard and improving it and getting it, just kind of getting what needs to happen. And then I also want to compliment you on how you've adapted your mobile design based upon my feedback, which is, we have to be concerned about the interface and the size when we are dealing with a mobile interface. So I got to compliment you on both of those.
Sorry, I was fixing something, but I heard everything you said. I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can because I'm still not familiar what happens on a mobile device. I mean, I got a mobile device, but that doesn't mean I understand how everything operates.
Right. Yeah, they'll come in the next week or two.
There.
So what I'd like to do now is that your discussion question specifically focuses on the choice of the mobile UI and user experience, the UX. And what I'm interested to hear you describe, and this could become the content of your discussion post, is how you adapted your design for the smaller size display.
Now, what are you meaning? You mean saying how on the mobile device, I put more or less the text at the top, starting out with scene 1?
Yep.
and put the Texas map in the center.
Yep.
Of course, I've got the images, which is the flag and the flower, the state flower and whatever on there. And then on the next scene, I have just Austin. And then, of course, you know, it's going to bring up the text for the picture, and the picture is going to show up.
Right. So
That's
let me,
gonna, go ahead.
let me ask you this question. I get the city name there on the top of scene 2, and I see Texas State History Museum, and then down below I see Zilker Botanical Garden and State Capitol Building. So how do the text? How does that text work? Are you displaying all? See, what I'm trying to
I'm just displaying, just to show you what the next two are.
Okay.
And when we actually do the animation, it's going to slide each one of them in. These are not going to be on there at all.
Okay. All right. So where will the text be? Will pictures go all the way to the bottom?
It could. So do I need to just I wonder if I could just remove this and maybe just put it like in the picture area. You know what I'm talking about? Just move this up so you'll kind of understand what I'm doing. If I can get it up there. It did not want to work, did it? There we go. And then I can move this down. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I wasn't clear. Yeah, I think because time separates your scene 2 actually is going to have 3 sub-scenes in it. The first sub-scene will be Texas State History Museum plus its picture. Your second sub-scene, or actually, yeah, I think, yeah. And then the second sub-scene would be the Zilker Botanical Garden with its picture. And then the third sub-scene within this would be State Capitol Building.
Yes.
And so I think, you know, that's what you're attempting to convey, the fact that these other sub-scenes also have text also. And so am I hearing you say that the animated text will take place underneath Austin for each?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm wondering, just in scene 2, Austin shows up. This is what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Austin shows up, then it fades out, I guess, and we can say that. And then the title of the picture shows up, which is the Texas State History Museum. And then the picture shows up of it. And then a few seconds, you know, like say 4 seconds, it'll pause, it'll stay there so you can see it for 4 seconds. And then it will, I could say slide out, or it could even do what I was planning on doing or whatever, but I'd rather it slide out. It doesn't matter. And that's when the botanical garden slides in. The other picture's gone already once the name is, or the text is gone. And that picture shows up of it. Then the botanical garden, text leaves, the picture leaves, the state capitol building shows up, the picture of it, and then it slides out and goes to the next scene, which is Dallas. And Dallas shows up, fades out, Dallas Zoo shows up, the text, the picture, and then that slides out, and then the presidential center, which then I can add the rest of the text on it, because it should almost fit up here. Because if I remove Dallas, after I put this, you know, the text in for each attraction, then there should be more room up here for me to put the whole title of what I was going to put.
Yeah.
Attraction.
Yeah. So I like where you're headed. And
I guess I could put all these in parentheses. That way, you know, it's not going to be part of the image itself. That's just letting you know this is coming next. This is coming next. I can even put numbers. I can put 1, 2, 3 text of each slide that comes out. Or I can even get rid of these because I already know what I'm going to use. And then write down what I want down here below it in the text that's not going to be seen at all. That's just kind of giving you the idea of what's going to be happening next.
Right. So I want to ask you. I think I would like to. I would prefer myself that the city remain there during
Okay.
that whole sequence, and that way I'm constantly reminded that I'm in Austin. What do you think of that?
That would work, but I wouldn't be able to put the whole text of what the actual image is going to be. Like the Texas State History Museum actually has something before it, but I couldn't put it because there's not enough room. I'd have to make the font smaller, and if I make it smaller, it's not going to work.
So am I hearing you say that you need that area for the full name, and leaving the city up there takes up room that you need? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Or I can make the box for the picture smaller, and it'll give me plenty of room.
I was looking at your font.
Because you can look at the picture, it's awful big, and you know every picture I have is not going to be able to fit on this whole box. I can show you every picture, and they're a box. They're exactly a square box. They're not this oblong. That's why I did it like I did on the scene 3 and 4, you know, the square box.
Okay. And so I'm really interested, because this is a really important part of the discussion, and that is, what is the current resolution of your assets? And remember, we have a specific size for the mobile, and we have a specific size for the desktop. And keep in mind, we've got these images that are also have their own resolution, and now we have to play the game of taking the resolution of some of our assets and figuring out how to present them in a fixed resolution of our design, you know, our display or our smartphone. I think that there might be a view in Windows that will allow you to display.
There's one of the pictures there, but see, I can put this in Illustrator or wherever, and I can shrink it to the size that I need to a point, because it's going to be picky.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got the aspect ratio that you have to worry about. When you scale it down, typically you want to scale both height and width simultaneously so that there's no distortion of your image. Can you exit out of that for a second? What I'm interested in doing is seeing if you can, no, I apologize. Just exit out of the view of that image. Would you go back to those images? I apologize. I'm interested to see if you can change the display. Click on view, upper left, and let's see what options we have. View.
Okay.
And then
we can do large, small, medium.
Can you do details?
Sure.
Right there. Okay. Now, over in the columns, you have name, date, type, size, and tags. Can you right-click to the right of tags?
Oh, right here? Okay.
And select more down at the bottom.
I ain't never done this, so I'm learning something new.
And now let's see if we can find resolution. I think that will be the name of the column.
We're fixing to find out because I'm almost there. Relevance, resources, no.
Okay. Can you keep looking? I'm going to search on the internet to see picture resolution in Windows Explorer.
I found something that's called space used. But that ain't going to be the same thing. There's total size and total file size.
How about dimensions?
Let me go back up. Yes.
Check that box and click OK.
Oh, I see. You're wanting them to be like, so you can see the sizes of some of the pictures. Like this is one of the pictures right here. And it's 1382 by 922.
Right.
There's the one for Dallas Zoo. It's big. 1600 by 1200. There's George W. Bush. It's big too. It's over 4,000.
Okay, so what do you think? I just want to see, where do you think I'm headed with this part of our conversation? Do you
Trying to find an equal size of each image.
Very good. That is in the direction I'm headed. That's correct. Now, obviously, when we're dealing with images that we use like this, obviously we have got different sizes. The greater the resolution, the larger the numbers, the better it is for us, just because we have more information to work with and we can scale it. Now, the problem is each of these have different aspect ratios. And when I say aspect ratio, what do you think of?
Does it mean that they're a little too big?
Okay, I'm going to explain what the aspect ratio is. It is the ratio from one dimension to the other, like the height to the width. So aspect ratio is, I think it's the height to width, or width to height, but it's width and its height. It's a relationship between its width and height. I don't know if height's on top and width's on bottom. I don't know, width is first, then height. So an aspect ratio of 16:9. Do you know what that means? This is important. I want to make sure you get this. So here's what this means. An aspect ratio is like a fraction. The aspect ratio is how many pixels go in one direction compared to pixels in the other. No, that's not a good way of describing it. It's actually the ratio between the width and the height. So let me explain. So let's say we have a width of 100 pixels and we have a height of 50 pixels. The aspect ratio is 100 over 50. Or simplified, it would be 2:1, which means we've got twice as much width as we do height. Now, a 16:9 ratio means we have 16 pixels of width compared to 9 pixels of height. In other words, let's say a 16:9 would be simplified. Let's say that would be, for example, an example of that ratio would be like 1600 to 900. So the aspect ratio of these dimensions, for example, let's have you click on the very top one, 2000 by 300. That's 2000 by 3000. Double click on that, and let's see.
It's going to be a picture, but I've changed the flag, but we can kind of just go with it.
Okay, so which dimension is the larger dimension? Is the width larger than the height, or is the height larger than the width?
The height is larger.
That's correct. Good. Now, exit out of this image.
Okay.
And now look at the dimensions of that image that you just looked at and tell me which dimension is height and which dimension is width.
The 3,000 is height and 2,000 is width.
That's correct. So the dimensions of each of these images, the first number is going to be the width. The second number is going to be the height. Now, is that image that we just looked at, is that in portrait or is it in landscape mode?
Portrait.
Very good. Portrait means that the height is larger than the width. So in other words, the second number is larger. So let's go down, just for the sake of exercise, go down this list of images that you have and tell me portrait or landscape. Just go right down the list.
Okay, this one has to be landscape.
Good.
Because the number's higher on the left.
That's correct.
This one, I don't know about this one because it's equal.
That's right. So that's a perfect square.
And then this one is landscape.
Good.
This one is landscape. This one is landscape. Man, there's a lot of this landscape.
Yep.
Landscape. Landscape.
Yep.
Landscape. Ooh, portrait. No, wait. Hold on. I'm getting confused again. Landscape.
Good.
Landscape.
Yep.
Landscape. Well,
Yep.
this one's almost perfect, but it's
Yep.
landscape. And then going down here, same thing, landscape. Perfect square.
Yep.
Landscape. Landscape. And this one's portrait.
Very good. That's perfect. Okay, so is your design for desktop a landscape design in general? The whole design, is it landscape or is it portrait?
It's going to be landscape.
Very good. Now we're talking the whole design now. Now, your mobile design, is that landscape or portrait?
Portrait.
Very good. That's good. Now, let's now focus just on the image insets. Now, we're not talking about the whole design. We're now talking about the place where you are going to allow images to be. What would you say is that area? Portrait, landscape, or square?
I would have to say that it's going to be more or less a square.
Let's go look at it.
But since I got this scene 2 that away, that's going to be portrait.
That's right. It doesn't have to be. We have to just we just have to consider all this. Let's look at your desktop display for a second. So just looking at your pictures area, what would you say? Square, portrait, or landscape?
It has to be landscape because it's not an even square.
Right, it's very close to a square, but it is more landscape. Now, okay, so you're doing great. Keep all these concepts in mind. Now, let's go back and look at your list of images. So, in order to figure out the aspect ratio, you make a fraction or perhaps a relationship for the first number to the second number. So the 2,000 by 3,000, that is definitely portrait because the second number is larger. The aspect ratio is always the first number, which is always the width, over the second number, or I say over, but I can say in relationship to. So the aspect ratio of the very first is 2,000 to 3,000. Now, frankly, they don't want you to have just the big numbers when you describe an aspect ratio. They technically really want you to simplify that number to its, and divide the numbers by their largest common denominator, and in other words, simplify the ratio. So 2,000 by 3,000 is simplified, but to what is the aspect ratio if it were simplified? Have I explained that clearly enough?
So it'd be 2/3?
That's right. It's exactly right. Good job. It would be 2:3. They usually put a colon between the two, but that's exactly right. You get it. How about the next one? It's easier than you're thinking.
3:2?
No, the second one is 28:17. Just divide both sides by 100. It's 28:17. You can't go any, that's the least common denominator you can go. How about the next one?
It's going to be even, so it'd be I know I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. 1:1 because it's going to be the even. So would it be 1436 or?
That is the perfect answer.
1:1?
That's exactly what I was waiting to hear you say. That's exactly right. 1:1. So the aspect ratio of a square is
1:1.
That's right. No matter what size it is, the aspect ratio of a square is 1:1. Always. Because height equals width. You didn't know we were going to get into math, did you?
No.
Now,
I do better in math than I do in English. Go ahead.
The next one below that is off just a little bit, but it's very close to what ratio?
Well, it's reversed. It would be 3:2.
That's exactly right. It's very, very close to a 3:2 ratio. We'd have to cut off about 5 pixels off the bottom, and then we'd have exactly 3,000 by 2,000, and that would be a perfect 3:2. So very good. Now, if I said and so we have to be concerned about this. By the way, typically, it's kind of interesting. If you look up aspect ratio on Wikipedia, you learn about different aspect ratios in the industry. And you learn about, for example, let me read this to you. The aspect ratio of an image describes the proportional relationship between its width and its height. It is commonly expressed as two numbers separated by a colon, as in 16:9. For an x:y aspect ratio. No matter how big or small the image is, if the width is divided into x units of equal length and the height is measured using the same length unit, the height will be measured by the y units. So televisions even have an aspect ratio just by the width of the display by its height. Your computer screen has an aspect ratio. What's the width of the resolution that your computer screen can view to its height? Now, these aspect ratios come into play when we are dealing with images. And so we now, looking at your list of images, we actually have to, we really kind of have to make a commitment to the aspect ratio of that viewable area of the photo. This is why it kind of is important for us to think about what's most important on our screen and how much of the area of our screen we've got dedicated to the different component parts. And if the photo is our most important, we want to have the largest area, and so on. but it's going to play a factor in how we present and prepare these assets. Because these assets, it's almost like they're glue. They're glued into a frame. And the first image is glued into a frame 2,000 by 3,000. The next image is glued into a frame 2,800 pixels by 1,700. Now we've got to, when we present these images in an animation, we have one single frame size. And that frame size in our display might be something like 500 pixels by 400 pixels or whatever you do. This is how you need to really kind of adjust this. We have to like do a negotiation here, because you either need to, you can't necessarily force a round peg in a square hole. Same thing, you can't necessarily force a portrait 2x3 image into 2x3 aspect ratio 2x3 into a aspect ratio of 16:9, because there's going to be some distortion. Just because the 16:9, the ratio between the width and the height is going to be different than like a 2x3. And so we've got all these great pictures, but we've got to realize that the viewport or the window into this picture is going to be fixed by our design on our display. And if we say it's going to be a certain number of pixels wide, certain number of pixels height, that's kind of like the window into this image. So this is the mathematics, and then the back and forth between the creation of assets for your image, and it's work, because you're constantly playing the game of, okay, the ratio of this is so much, and my pixel area, my window into this picture that I've got in my display in my design is only this number of pixels. And what am I going to do? Well, you can, using a shift key, you can do the scaling down, and then you have to realize that you might scale down, and then you end up leaving black space in design on the top and bottom. So there's going to be some going back and forth. Here are some options for you. You can use that shift key to scale it down. You can also you can truncate parts of your design. In other words, parts of your picture. In other words, you might have for example, this one simple one, the fourth one down there, 3,000 by 2,000. Let's say the display, the viewport in our design is, let's say, a 3:2 ratio. And let's say it's 300 pixels by 200 pixels. Well, let's do this. First of all, we would cut off 5 pixels off, literally cut it right off. We would like crop it. We crop the image, losing 5 pixels on the bottom, for example. And then we'd have 3,000 by 2,000. So the width is the 3,000, the height is the 2,000. So once we have the 3,000 by 200 image, we crop it. We crop off the 5 pixels off the bottom. And so now our image new dimensions are 3,000 by 2,000. Then you can hold down the shift key, and then you can scale it down into, let's say, a width. Do you know what the width is of your display area? And I know it might not be your final thing, but right now, what is the width of your pictures viewport in scene 2, 3, 4, and 5? That's what I'm really interested in. What are the dimensions of your pictures? Just the pictures square. Just that. They got width and height. Maybe you can change that to pixels units. Select it again. I don't know how to change the units. We really kind of need to talk in pixels here because our images are in pixels. I think it might be a setting in the document. Control R and right click the open box where the rulers intersect. Let's see. Anywhere on the rulers will do. Control click a ruler and choose the measurements you want. So go back in your design. And the rulers, see the rulers up across the top? Do a control click or just maybe a right click. Let's see if that, let's just do it. There you go. Let's see, pixels. Great. There you go, you got it. Okay, so the width of our area is, of that area is 74.333 pixels. Is that what? Well, I just realized that this is scaled down, isn't it? In my mind, I'm thinking that's going to be it. But obviously, these are thumbnails, aren't they? So let's remind ourselves what the, by the way, I think you're muted. I don't know if you're talking to me, but I think you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sitting here talking away. I forgot about it.
Okay,
when
so
my dogs bark, I mute.
Okay, so these are thumbnails. This design is actually a thumbnail of your final design. And so here we are looking at these, the size of this area, but in reality, this is just a thumbnail of the full thing. So how do we find out how big the total design is supposed to be? Where do we go to discover that?
Wouldn't it be this space right here? Because you want to know this part.
Okay, I'm going to, remember this is a thumbnail.
I don't know. I haven't never had to do that, so I have no idea. I'd have to look it up.
Okay, well, I'm gonna show you that you actually know the answer to my question. So let me state it a different way. In your assignment, you are tasked with creating the documents in Adobe Flash to have a certain size stage, a certain stage size for mobile, and a certain stage size for desktop. Where are those numbers written down?
They're in your assignment.
That's exactly right.
So for mobile, it would, well, if we want to do the desktop, that's where we're at now. It would be 1280 pixels by 720 pixels.
Exactly.
So what we have on here will not be accurate on the square. It would actually probably be larger.
You're right. This thumbnail is just a small thumbnail. It's obviously not going to be the pixels, but we kind of have to keep in mind where we're headed with our design. So desktop, the full screen, the full screen is going to be how wide by how high?
So you're talking about just for the desktop Excel?
Yeah, our desktop design is going to be how wide and how high.
let's see, it's going horizontally. So it's going to be, the width is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, 1280 by the height of 720. It's going horizontally and not going portrait.
That's the right answer. Perfect.
But with the mobile, it's the same thing, except you can also go vertical. So it's kind of like, it depends. Right now, mine's going vertical, so mine's will be different. Correct?
All right. So the mobile, your mobile design, is that portrait or landscape?
Right now it's portrait, so it'd be like 64 width with height of 1136.
That's right, 640 pixels width by height 1136, which is good. That's perfect. Okay, so two things we've got to keep in mind, and this would be really interesting if this worked out. You could possibly use the same image. Well, let's see. You've got a portrait image frame for your mobile design, and you've got like a landscape image frame for your display, the desktop design. Wouldn't it be interesting if you have the potential of making those display areas the same dimension, even though they're two different designs? There's a possibility that instead of you having a landscape viewport in your desktop design, you could possibly switch that to a portrait viewport. I use the word viewport.
For the picture itself, you're saying?
Yeah, just for the picture itself. My goal is to potentially minimize the amount of work you have to do in image prep, because if we can capitalize on the same landscape or portrait view and also the same size image, there's a possibility that you can keep your design as is, but in your display, I keep saying display, in your desktop design, it could have the exact same image, same resolution that you use in your mobile design. So, so that's something to consider. Here's why. It will save you work, because it's going to be work for you to prepare these images to fit without pixelating them and without distorting them in the viewport. I use the word viewport. I hope that makes sense. I think there's probably a more technical term than that, but it's just basically the area that you have of your design in order to display the picture. And you could potentially do them the same. Now, if you didn't do the same, then you're going to actually have to create two different images of the same image. One might be a portrait one might be a landscape one might be a different resolution. But I think there's a possibility that your design can have the same, exact same resolution. So let's go over for just a minute. Let's go over to your mobile design. Okay, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a trick question. It's a trick question.
Oh, no.
It's a trick question because it's going to actually make you think. And it's actually a very simple answer. And so I'm expecting you're going to get it. But we'll see. So what is the width of the picture that you will use in this design?
The width? Basically, probably 640.
That's exactly right.
Now the height don't have to be that. It can be cut off just some, but it don't have to be as tall, but the width will be the same as the frame itself.
That's exactly right. You get it. Good job.
At least you have confidence in me. I was sitting there going, I don't know if I can answer him.
Yep.
But can I keep on the desktop? Can it go ahead and stay like it is in landscape?
Yeah, you can maintain your landscape design.
But the picture can still be portrait.
That's exactly right. So what I'm advocating now is that you consider, and you don't have to make this just right in your thumbnail sketch of your storyboards. we're really kind of doing the work of week 2 here. And so what I'm now advocating is that you consider a square or portrait view of your pictures in your desktop design. The width, I'm suggesting, will be what? What am I suggesting that your width be in your desktop design of your images? Where do you think I'm headed?
Hey, I just figured out something. I can make it the same size if I want that I have on my mobile, or I can double it and make it what it is now, which is 1280.
Okay.
But you're wanting me to keep it like it's already going to be on my phone size, correct? So that way I wouldn't have to move the image and make them bigger.
That's right. And keep in mind that if you created a second image that was twice as wide, then it'd be 1280. Sure, you've got enough room on the display of your desktop design to be 1280, but then there wouldn't be room for anything else like text or a map because it would be all picture.
So I would use 640, which is half of what this is, and that would give me an idea how to shrink or make this, the Texas, the right size.
Perfect. That's exactly right. I can't think of what else to say than perfect, and that's exactly right. But I can't say anything better than that. That you're getting it.
On scene 7 on either one, would it be best to put like a website where they can find more information about Texas?
That's a good idea, and frankly, we can actually make it a hot link too. That we could do that next week or the week 4, but it could actually be you click here and it goes right to that website. But you can.
I mean, of course, I can shrink Texas on that scene 7 is what I'm saying, and then put the link. I don't necessarily have to have the images, these pictures in scene 7 since I already got them on the first scene. So I could take these out, shrink this some, or center it, and then put the link here. I can even put actually a couple of links.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, and again, you click here and it'll take you to the Texas state, texas.gov, Gov, or something like that. That definitely is an option for you.
I thought that would be it because it kind of gives you an ending.
Yeah.
But then they can go ahead and they can go back and look more over what I showed if they want to kind of say, well, is that really the state capitol, or was that really the botanical gardens? And they can still look for pictures.
Yeah, you could,
you
can put a link. You can have it go to the Texas website. You can click a button to go back. But I'm just really, really happy that you're totally getting what I'm hoping you get. And so let's talk now just a second about the height of your images. All right, already you've decided, yeah, and once again, you're going to save yourself work because the 640 pixel width, if you can use it both in your mobile design and in your desktop design, you will save your work. You will save yourself work because you won't have to create a different size image. You use the same size. So this is brilliant. Now let's figure out the height. And let's think about your mobile design. You've got the width figured out, 640. The height is, there's 1136. So 1136, let me tell you, if we had a perfect square, it would be 640 by 640. But let me see what 1136 minus 640 equals. That's 496. So that's a lot of pixels. So now that's if you had a 640 by 640, but you don't have to.
What if it would be, let me think a minute here. I may have figured it out, maybe. I just got to do some calculation here. Isn't that terrible?
If you did a perfect square, then you still have about 500 pixels, and that's a lot, and it's probably too much.
But I probably don't need but maybe half of that 496.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I would add another 248 to the 640, and that would make it actually 888.
Yeah.
I can even round it off to 890 if I wanted. I mean, because I'm not going to need as much space at the top as I am with the picture itself.
Yep, you're getting it. Yep, you got it. So you're right. You're right on track, and you get it. And let me see what else I wanted to cover tonight.
I'll probably have to do the same thing for the desktop one, kind of average it out to where I'm not all the way at the top, but I just got 3/4 of it.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, your goal is going to be to get the two. You really want to have the exact same dimensions that you're going to use for that image viewport, for your mobile and for your desktop design. So whatever you decide, if you do 888 on the height, then do the 888 on the height in your design of your desktop, because by using the same dimension, you're going to be able to use just one image that's going to work in both.
Now I figured out what you're saying. If we're going to do the same size of the picture in one, we have to do the same size of the picture in the other.
That's right.
It went blank. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Okay, so let's do this. What time is it? 8:22. Let's call it a night tonight, and let's do this. Let's meet, if you can. Let's meet tomorrow, and what I'd like to do is go over the assessment with you. How's that?
I was fixing to ask you. You're reading my mind. That's not good. I was fixing to ask you, are we going to go over the assessment tonight? Yeah.
No, it's been a great discussion. I really am happy. I think you've come a long way on getting this whole thing. This has been a very important discussion. I really feel
that means I'm remembering stuff from the past courses too, because it's popping in. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it is bringing back the. Thank goodness I know a little bit of math too, or I'd be in trouble.
Yep, you did great. I didn't know
math was that important, but let me tell you, I'm going to push that on my niece because she's in college right now.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, it's important for anything. All righty, well, about the same time tomorrow, or do you want later?
No, let's plan on 6 o'clock, and then we'll go over the assessment tomorrow night.
And I'll work on this a little bit tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Try to get it a little bit situated so you can see it.
Awesome.
And then can you kind of go over the assignment a little bit more so I would understand it more?
You bet.
What you're wanting me to turn in?
You bet.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, and you have a good night.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.